My name is Benjamin French, but you can call me Ben. Life has afforded me the good fortune to spend the first part of my life traveling around the world to exciting places. I've made friends in countries scattered far and wide, and it is within these friendships that I have been able to expand my worldview. One thing I've learned over the years is how important it is to be able to communicate with other people in a meaningful way. I have observed languages from around the world, and I have always marveled at the distinct differences that exist on each continent. For example, I have found it easier to comprehend and understand Mandarin when you approach it like a song due to its tonal nature. Spanish is fun to learn because of the way some of the letters are used, such as the R. I have never considered myself fully fluent in another language and have always been curious about what it takes for a person to find themselves fully confident. I decided to investigate my interest through the lens of linguistics in hopes to gather some clues that may reveal when a person is fully proficient. And now, without further ado, let's start the show! This presentation will look at the linguistic patterns that emerge when a person is learning a new language, and how that person integrates the new language into their lives. Everyone learns a language at their own pace, yet everyone agrees that there comes a point in time when a language that they are learning seems to click. The term click refers to the level of familiarity a person becomes confident enough to use said language in the same manner as they would use their very own. Bilingual acquisition can take place in one of two ways. Simultaneous acquisition occurs when a child is raised bilingually from birth, or when the second language is introduced before the age of 3. Children learning two languages simultaneously go through the same developmental stages as children learning one language. Sequential acquisition occurs when the second language is introduced after the first language is well established, generally after the age of 3. Children may experience sequential acquisition if they immigrate to a country where a different language is spoken. Sequential learning may also occur if the child exclusively speaks his heritage language at home until he begins at school where instruction is offered in a different language.
When someone switches back and forth between their native language and another language, linguists call this code switching. Code switching is often necessary when learning a new language. Learning a second language can be a long, difficult, and frustrating task. However, the rewards of learning another language are endless. But you don't have to take my word for it. Let's introduce you to the two participants who agreed to do interviews for this piece.
Hi, my name is Sherry Xinxuan Baker. I was born and raised in Taiwan, and Chinese was my mother language. I came to the United States when I was 22 years old. I started learning English when I was 16 at high school in Taiwan.
Hi, my name is Caroline Oculmana. I was born in Lima, Peru. I am 37 years old. I moved to the United States 10 years ago when I was 27.
Everybody learns things in their own way and in their own time, and language is no exception. In 1959, Robertson Penfield came up with an idea that was called brain plasticity. And that critical period was 9 years old. So what do you think? Do you think it's possible to learn a language after the age of 9 years old? I believe so. But what Penfield and Roberts were getting at is they believed that the brain was more malleable, that children were able to develop another language because of the process of brain development. In 1980, a researcher named Patkowski also made a claim that there was a critical period for learning a second language. Finally, in 1999, Weber Fox also designed a series of experiments, and they checked out how language was processed in various regions of the brain, and they did find that later learners learned at a slower level, and the language development, physiological changes also accompanied this.
Do you think any sounds would be more difficult in one language or another to pronounce? Or do you think certain letters or things like that might be more difficult to pronounce? Let's ask.
Remember, the TH sound is always like hard for me to pronounce. In Chinese, there's no like sound. Like we don't stick our tongue, I guess. Like there's no that sound. So like that, those is hard for me to like stick my tongue out and then to put it. Yeah. Also, like the L sound. Yeah, the L, like you don't say it like at the end of the words, like
Jack and Jill went up the hill.
Jill, exactly. Yeah. Jill is hard for me to the beginning, yeah. And then just, yeah.
Well, many things are very difficult to pronounce in English, but the S was very difficult for me because in Spanish it's S. So let's say snake, I say snake.
Let's talk about code switching now. Is code switching a healthy thing when learning a new language? When someone switches back and forth between their native language and another language, linguists call this code switching. Code switching is often necessary when learning a new language.
I am a bilingual parent. At home I speak only in Spanish to my little daughter. She's 5 years old, and something that frustrates me is that even though she understands everything that I am talking about, she 90% of the time answers me back in English. And when I say no, español, she says, well, you speak English. But then when she's frustrated with me and she doesn't understand my English, she corrects my English. So it's very frustrating. She expects me to speak English, but then she says, you're not pronouncing that correctly. It's kind of frustrating.
A researcher named Poplack once stated that intrasentential code switching, that's intrasentential code switching, is the most complex type of all. So, she did a study in New York of Puerto Rican speakers who consistently use intrasentential code switching all the time. And what they found is that it was balanced amongst the bilinguals. Speakers who were dominant in one language tended to use less sophisticated code switching forms, such as single word borrowings, tags, and intrasentential switches, because these forms require less control of two grammars and are less likely to result in ungrammatical constructions. Intrasentential switching, with its high potential for creating ungrammatical constructions, is therefore the logical type to test for grammatical violations. Have you ever tried saying some other words in a different language? Take, for instance, try using the letter R in Spanish. Are you ready? We say R, but for a Spanish speaker, ready would sound more natural if it was pronounced ready. Sorry, I'm not too good at rolling my R, but you get the point. The R's roll. Now in Mandarin, it's quite a bit different. Mandarin is tonal, so you're going to use tones, which is the inflection of your voice makes a big difference and can completely change some of the words and meaning that you are intending to say, so you have to be careful. So, we have languages that are tonal, such as Mandarin, and we have languages that are not necessarily tonal, such as Spanish.
because you hear like you see the movie, like a lot of like movie, you see like more English like on TV, movie. So when you are speaking it, you kind of you also feel like I used to watch TV sitcom in college. Here I say here, that really helped me because one of my friends gave me advice this year. And then I start to like, pick up, because you're like want to know like what they're talking about, like why are they laughing? Sometimes like when they're laughing, you don't know what they're laughing about.
Right. Yeah.
So, but then like the more you watch the TV and movie, and then
I heard Seinfeld was good for that.
Yeah, Seinfeld also. I watch Friends too a lot, and then I remember the first few movies. When I go to the theater to watch, I had no idea what is, especially there's no subtitle in there. Back, to my culture, like a movie or TV, they always have subtitles like on the bottom, even though it's, they speak in Chinese, we always like used to reading the subtitle at the same time too. But then here, like English, you don't do that.
A person has to have a really good sense of humor to learn another language because inevitably you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah, I do. I remember once I need to explain to patient when I had the impression loading, I'm coming to like behind her, but then instead of saying behind her, I say back, because behind and back, it's different. Like I would like kind of like translate from Chinese, like I'm coming back to you, but that doesn't make sense. I need to say like I'm coming behind you, so then like patient will know, okay, like the system is coming behind me, not like coming back to me.
Yeah.
I remember that once when I went to Wells Fargo, I was giving a little horse. In Wells Fargo they give horses, but for some reason I had mixed up the words horse and whore. So while I was waiting in the bank, I said to my husband, "Hey, look at that! That's the girl that gave me a whore." And then my husband looked at me and then he was like, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, she gave me a whore." And that was totally normal, and I thought that was fine. But then I realized that I mixed up the words horse and whore.
But that doesn't mean all is lost. We all know that there's plenty of people out there that have learned a second language later in life. It just seems like that maybe they have an issue with the accent. It always seems like it's the accent that people have a lot of trouble dismissing when learning a second language. So what is it about that? And do children really lose their native accent or learn to pick up accents of other languages quicker than adults? Dr. Zhu Li of Huai'an, China, wants to study on the phenomena of accents and how they were affected amongst child learners of a second language and adult learners of a second language. Basically, to sum it up, whether adults can attain a native-like accent in their second language, the answer to the question is uncertain because of the controversy that surrounds the age of influence of the second language. That is, the two assumptions about the critical period hypothesis and optimal age to obtain a native-like accent failed to be confirmed by all researchers that participated in the study. Furthermore, other factors such as learning, the learning environment, the motivation, the aptitude, the learning strategies, and on and on and on, all make a difference here. After interviewing both of our participants, they both seemed to agree that there never really was a point that the language clicked. It was only a point that they felt like that they were confident, and it was a gradual point. It wasn't something that happened all of a sudden. But that doesn't mean to give up. You need to keep learning. Learn those languages. Communicate. Roll those R's. Learn to sing. Ni hao ma. There are many different forms of oral communication. Some are tonal, some are not. Some just use words. If you go to the Canary Islands, you'll actually hear whistles. And in some parts of Africa, you'll even see a talking drum. I hope all of you have had as much fun watching this as I've had making it. So until the next time, be well.
After 12 years, I've been living in the United States. And at that point, I was working in a dental office, and then I had to speak to a patient and explain to them things what we do. So at that point, I think I got it kind of pumps my confidence and then comprehension.
So was it a fairly fast-paced environment then?
Yeah, you only get 20 minutes too.
Yeah, so your English exchange had to be spot on, huh?
Yeah, I had to speak fast and then